I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there is a trend going on in the college football coaching world. It seems that many coaches are leaving college football altogether or taking lesser roles or pay cuts to not be head coaches anymore. I wonder why that is. Well, the college football landscape has changed. NIL, transfer portal, college football playoff, conference realignment, all of those factors are a big deal, and coaches are really starting to weigh their options. Is it really that good to be a head coach of a small school if all your players are going to be poached by the portal and you have no real chance of even making the postseason? In the past, a lot of Group of 5 schools would hire offensive or defensive coordinators from bigger schools, but why would you do that anymore? There seems to be no point in being a head coach in college football because of how difficult it is. That's why many are going to the NFL, where you don't have to worry about the portal or NIL or recruiting. You just have to worry about the players you're given. There is an epidemic in coaching going around right now, and in today's video, we're going to talk about why that is and some great examples of what the heck is going on. But first, if you love college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started. So today I'm going to walk you through a few crazy examples that are currently going on in the coaching scene. There are a few preliminary examples I want to talk about. The first is that Kane Wommack left his head coaching job at South Alabama to be a coordinator at Bama. He had made a bowl game and had kind of salvaged a terrible South Alabama program, but he does have a connection with Kalen DeBoer when he was at Indiana, and now he'll have better security and a better chance of moving up the ladder. Another example is Matt Entz, as he was the head coach at North Dakota State, but he now left to take the defensive coordinator role at USC. He's going to a bigger name, a top-tier school, and he'll be in the Big Ten. The other guy is Maurice Linguist, as he was the head coach at Buffalo, and he also decided to take a coordinator role at Bama. These are for the same reasons as Wommack. It's better to be a coordinator at Bama than it is to be a head coach at a Group of 5 school. But there are really 4 crazy examples I want to talk about, and the first one is going on at Georgia. Georgia is a prime example of a big-time school where coaches are leaving for other opportunities. The main example is in late February, their wide receivers coach Brian McClendon announced that he was taking the wide receivers job for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 4 days earlier, Kirby Smart also said that their special teams coordinator and an offensive analyst also decided to resign and pursue other opportunities. What's weird about McClendon is he was a former wide receiver for Georgia and has been on staff multiple times. He came back in 2021 after stops at both South Carolina and Oregon, and he helped coach a Georgia wide receivers unit that was really good and won them a national championship in 2022. One comment I read on Reddit said, quote, "I can't blame these coaches to move to the same position on NFL teams. It'll be equal or more pay, and you don't have to recruit. All that extra time with family not recruiting, but making the same money, who wouldn't take it?" Honestly, he has a good point there. What's even wilder about this is that McClendon has worked exclusively in college football his whole career, making it obvious that his jump to the NFL was probably a side effect of what is going on in college football. Why would he want to leave a great job at his alma mater that competes for national championships and could pay him whatever he wants? Did he want to, or did he have to leave? Another comment I read was, quote, "This is going to happen more and more. Why stick around in college football to try and become a head coach when you can just see firsthand how much it sucks now?" Well, I wouldn't necessarily get that pessimistic. He also has a very fair point there. That example is best highlighted by Sean Elliott. He's the second example we're going to talk about. Elliott was hired as the head coach at Georgia State in 2017, and he became the program's 3rd head coach overall. In 2017, they would have their first winning season, and since then, Elliott guided the Panthers to 5 winning seasons during his tenure. That is really hard to do at Georgia State. In 7 years as Georgia State's head coach, he went 41-44 with a 4-1 record in bowl games. The Panthers were 7-6 in 2023 and picked up a win over Utah State in the Potato Bowl. Then he actually shocked the college football world as he decided to resign from Georgia State and take the tight ends job at South Carolina. Their AD said, quote, "I knew this was a difficult decision for him, but I understand his personal reasons, and we wish the best for Sean and his family. We all know what those reasons are." Elliott would mark the 3rd Group of 5 head coach to resign from his position in favor of being an assistant at a Power 5 school. Elliott spent 6 years at South Carolina already. And at one point he was both the co-offensive coordinator and the interim head coach after Steve Spurrier. But why? The portal is to answer. According to Reddit, Georgia State had the 4th least returning production in the country, so it's going to be a complete roster rebuild, which would make his job nearly impossible, and understandable why he'd want to get out of it. For example, they had a star running back by the name of Marcus Carroll, and as he was balling out, everyone was wondering where he was going to transfer next. They did all the dirty work in recruiting and developing him, only for a bigger school to poach it. Maybe it's the name of the game, but I wouldn't necessarily blame a head coach for not wanting to deal with that. Another reason is probably job security. Someone said, quote, Yeah, I don't think a guy who is 41 and 44 in 7 years and is already 50 years old is going to get a job much better than Georgia State, particularly in an era when all the best Group of 5 players transfer out ASAP. This move to South Carolina actually provides him with job security. It's now better to have a secure job where you can focus on one group and recruit one position than to be an actual head coach and manage all this stuff. It's crazy though. This guy was a winning coach at a bad small school and now is taking a tight end's job for a team that's in the bottom half of the SEC. Example 3 is also really interesting, and that is Jeff Hafley. This time he's actually been a below average head coach for Boston College, and he decided to leave his head coaching job for an NFL coordinator job. It was with the Green Bay Packers, which he apparently did dream about coaching, but while he was at Boston College, he went 22-6 in 4 years, including a 7-6 mark this past season and beating SMU in the Fenway Bowl. It's also worth noting that Boston College looked horrible the first month, so he actually had a pretty good season. Hafley really got his coaching name started at Ohio State, as he was their defensive coordinator and was very hyped up and did really well there. How much of that was talent though? There were ultimately 14 NFL players on that defense, and in the NFL, they already have talent and he just has to worry about coaching him. In college, he struggled to field a good defense at Boston College, and a lot of that came down to recruiting and the cards he was dealt. Some say his transition to the NFL will be risky, as one said, quote, "There's probably a middle ground." At Ohio State, his teams were considerably more talented than any team on the schedule, and at Boston College, it's the opposite, because he's at the bottom of the spectrum in talent. But why would Hafley give up a head coaching job at the college level to make it work in the NFL with no guarantees? Well, it's the portal, NIL, and the college football landscape. It's extremely difficult. Boston College as a program has been stuck in no man's land, has terrible recruiting grounds, little football funding, not much fan support, and they're currently stuck in the ACC, which some think could implode. They're also just a below average program in general, and the weather also isn't that great there for football year round. He'd rather take a shot at making it big as a coordinator in the NFL and then be a head coach that way than try and win at Boston College, build the program up, and leave for a bigger college. There's just too much work involved, and it seems that a lot of these coaches just don't want to deal with it, and I still can't blame them when the pay is very similar. But there's one example you guys are all probably wondering about, and that is Chip Kelly. He was the craziest move by far, as he left the head coaching position at UCLA to take the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State. Before it all happened though, he was already interviewing for multiple coordinator jobs, including the Seattle Seahawks. He instead decided to stay in college, but would reunite with Ryan Day, who was his longtime friend and former assistant. While at UCLA this past season, Chip Kelly won 8 games, stomped his biggest rival, and even won a bowl game. Still though, he determined his best career move was to take a massive pay cut, $6 million, to remain in the same conference and become an offensive coordinator instead. Kelly went 35-34 during his time at UCLA, and in his last 3 years, he had 3 winning campaigns. Kelly was by no means perfect, but he was successful at UCLA. So why leave a head coaching job in the Big Ten with a lot of tradition and perks? Well, again, it's the current landscape of what is going on in the college football world. I'm sure he saw a ton of difficulty in Westwood. While he wasn't going to get fired after going 8-5, he was not hired by UCLA's current AD, and that explains why Kelly was interviewing for the NFL. A lot of ADs want their own guy, and you have a very short leash in college now. If he had one subpar season, his security becomes on the hot seat. I mean, to be fair, he could be on the hot seat at Ohio State, as if they don't beat Michigan this fall, you never know what's going to happen, but I would say that Kelly should have a good chance at being there for a little while. For the critical UCLA fans, they get their way, and now Kelly gets a new job with a little bit less pressure. Ryan Day gets his old coach back, as he played quarterback for him when Kelly was coaching at New Hampshire. What's crazy is, in a weird twist, becoming Ohio State's offensive coordinator may actually be his best route to becoming a head coach again. UCLA is apparently upside down financially, and the move to the Big Ten was partially based on those difficulties. The Bruins have no collective for NIL, and I guess he was also pretty dang lazy when it came to recruiting. I've scoured Reddit and read through a ton of forums, and it seemed that Kelly just did not care about recruiting. Right now, as the offensive coordinator, he just had to really focus on offensive players, and I bet in particular would be going after quarterbacks. That's his specialty, and that's probably what he wants to do. The recruiting rankings at UCLA were absolutely terrible. In 2024, UCLA landed number 88 ranked recruiting class, and that ranked behind Troy, South Alabama, and UTEP. That was also last in the Big Ten, behind schools such as Indiana and Rutgers. That is absolutely ridiculous for Chip Kelly. So those, in my opinion, were the 4 big examples. You had a successful wide receivers coach who was at his alma mater with every resource take an NFL job after having no NFL experience. You had the head coach at a group of 5 school take a tight ends job at an SEC school. You had a decently successful head coach at a Power 5 program, take an NFL coordinator job, and then you had an extremely successful college coach take an offensive coordinator role for another Power 5 school in their conference. It's definitely weird, and this is unprecedented time in college football. So what is going on? As I've already said, the transfer portal, conference realignment, NIL, and all of that good stuff. It doesn't matter if you sign a good high school class anymore because most of them leave after their freshman year. If you're at a small school and you develop a really good player, they're transferring away. If you don't pay a kid enough, they're not coming to your school. If you have one bad season, you're getting fired. And a lot of it's just become a huge hassle. Everything's flipped on its head, recruiting's flipped on its head, roster management's flipped on its head, and nothing even makes sense. There's going to be a lot more of this, and at some point, there aren't going to be many guys who want to take Group of 5 head coaching jobs anymore. We'll really have to just wait and see, as I do think some of this stuff will eventually balance out. But for now, it's a crazy world we're living in, and that is why, in my opinion, coaches are downgrading, taking pay cuts, or leaving the sport altogether. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to let me know your thoughts down below. Why are coaches leaving college football? Will this trend continue? And what can save the sport? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.